Vegas has my heart, man.
It means the world to me. It's my home.
It's everything. It really is.
Las Vegas just has so much opportunity.
This is home. Las Vegas is home, man.
It is a land of opportunity.
Las Vegas has been my home for 20 years now.
You can have a crazy idea in the morning, and by mid-afternoon, you have a bunch of people on your side helping get it done.
Las Vegas is home. Las Vegas is home.
All right, guys, we're doing this episode 22, I believe. I'm here with the intelligent and creative and highly energetic woman, one of my good friends. She has many talents, and she's smiling over here. She's smizing. Oh, am I embarrassing you? She's a dancer, and she is also trying out for the Raiders. She's in the final round, and she was a cheerleader for the inaugural season of the Golden Knights. So without further ado, Miss Lisa Love.
Hi, guys. So excited to be on the show. We've been talking about it for quite a few weeks now, and the day is finally here. It's finally happening.
Weeks, talk about months.
Months. I think we even dated it back to when we were still workshopping. I was assisting and workshopping the name of the podcast, and here it is coming to life. So really exciting to be on it.
Yeah, without you, this podcast wouldn't have happened. You're actually one of the first people I ever mentioned the idea to. I think this goes back to like October, September of last year.
What an honor, but also eye roll. This is all you. I just lended an ear.
Yeah, Lisa, she was my dartboard for names of the podcast. I probably shot her at least 50 to 100 names.
I also ricocheted back some options, and I'm so excited. He went with the name The Guest List Podcast because it's so relevant to where we're at and the community that we live in here in Vegas.
There's definitely some rough ones in there. I think like looking back at the list, there's like Vegas Originals, VIP Talk Vegas. There's like Vegas
Just too
Vacation.
lengthy and too long.
I was like, God, because I wanted to put Vegas in the name, but it's just like, how do I make it Vegas relevant? And then I got home from work one day and I was just like, oh my God, the guest list. Because somebody texted me about putting them on the guest list.
I feel like that's how the best ideas just come into play. Just it hits you out of nowhere, and you're like, why didn't I think of this before?
And this is it. You're somebody that's very, very familiar with that concept as well, with all the different things that you do in your life and have done.
Honestly, it's a lot to juggle, so you might have to narrow it down to quite a few.
So let's let everyone know who you are and just kind of growing up, how you ended up in Vegas, and some of the things you've done along the way.
Okay, well, my name is Lisa Love. I was born and raised in Huntington Beach, California. Lived there for about 25 years of my life. And I always had this master plan to reinvent myself and move somewhere where I didn't know anybody and start all over. Because in my life, I think the moral stays the same. It's always growth, right? To continue to grow, to continue to master who you are as a person and push yourself to the limits. And although they call it an Orange County bubble for a reason, like people there are content, they're happy, they love their life. There's no reason to leave. People who move there, that's their end game. You know, like 72 degrees, 85 is like really hot. The beach is 4 miles away. People love dogs. They love weed. They love other people. Like there's just no reason to leave when you have everything that you need right at the forefront of your fingers. So I've gotten a lot of questions actually when I graduated college. People are like, well, why do you want to leave? And my first thoughts were Miami, but that was too far. I was like, okay, maybe baby steps, maybe Vegas, you know, like I've had a lot of fun there. I remember what it's like to be a tourist here, to come here on the weekends or like to celebrate something after finals or what have you. And it was always the best time. Like this is not the vacation destination for people around the world for no reason. Like it upholds its reputation and its standards. So I figured what better way to start, like dip my feet in the pool of possibilities and to just move to Vegas and see what there is out there. I had no idea what to expect other than like some gray moments, some blackout moments here in Vegas before. Like, okay, this may be the life that I'm living. All through college, I worked, I was serving tables, I was a bartender. Hospitality was what I was good at. It's what I know. And this is a city of hospitality. It's hospitality driven. Everybody here, that's all they know. So I heard like little birdie, I don't remember who or recall where, but I hear that the possibility to make money being a bartender and or a server was huge out here. So I'm obviously not going to move to like Oklahoma and be a bartender. Like I want to make some smart moves for myself. And at the same time, like what really propelled me to move was it's only 4 hours away as opposed to Miami. It's like across the country. I've never even been on the east side, so I don't even know what to expect over there. So a 4-hour drive away, my skill set was prepared for this place. And it was an opportunity for me to move away and start all over and build new friendships and just see what I can turn into being alone and being away from everyone and everything that I knew. That's why I'm here.
Did you move out here alone or did you come out with a friend?
I came out here 100% alone. I actually was scrolling through Craigslist and I see a post for Tao and Marquis, like they were auditioning bartenders, servers, just a whole staff list. So I flew out here on a whim. I stayed with a friend of a friend whom I've met maybe one time for 10 minutes, but she was so graceful. Her name is Sherry. Hey, Sherry, if you're listening to this, she picks me up from the airport and we're getting to know each other as I'm staying at her house. So we go to these auditions together. I had no idea what to expect. You know, like I said, like people in Orange County were very happy. We're very ecstatic. We just love people. We love strangers. It's just a normal thing there. So here I am making friends, or at least trying to, at the auditions, and I'm getting hair whipped in my face. I'm getting looked at up and down. I've gotten ignored. I was like, what is happening here? And I will never forget, there was this girl in front of me. She's gorgeous. I'm just trying to shake my nerves out and just asking her about her experience. I look over her shoulder and I see this beautiful like model picture. She's in lingerie. Like she looks like she works out every single day of her life. And here I am like in sweatpants and a bikini that didn't even match. I had like a different top and different color scheme going. Like that's the vibe in California. Okay. I didn't know any better. And I tapped on the shoulder. I was like, yeah, like that's a really beautiful picture. Like, is this your first time? And just whips her hair in my face. And she goes, I'm a model. Well, okay then. The vibe is not the same here. So long story short, I was just myself and I ended up getting that job and they told me I had to be out there 2 weeks later. So it all happened very fast. And I wasn't expecting that to happen. So yeah, I packed up my stuff, moved out here all by myself, and I'm still here. That was in 2015. And I guess my plan the entire time, I mean, I had a plan. My plan was move out here, pay off student loans, pay off car loans. The goal was, yes, to reinvent yourself and yes, to start over somewhere new. But the ultimate goal was to pay off debt because I could have done that in California, but it would just have been a much more retarded rate. So if I wanted to travel, if I wanted to do things, instead of doing it at the end of the year, I would probably have to wait 3 to 5 years to achieve these goals. And that wasn't something that I was willing to do. So,
yeah, well, first, you started off Vegas just as the city is at a very fast pace and things happen at a very rapid pace. And sometimes, I'd say most of the time, it's very unexpected.
Yeah, very.
So first, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
And I always do say that the Strip is the best launch pad that anyone could have. You can make more money on the Strip in a day than some drug dealers can.
That's an interesting way to compare it, but accurate nonetheless.
That's from stories, of course. But it's cool that you could go through those, or that you could just go on a whim and just come out here and go to auditions. Like when I auditioned for Omnia, I didn't really know anybody. I didn't try out with anyone. I didn't really have any connections. And I showed up to these auditions and there was thousands of people, and I happened to get hired. And I wasn't really expecting it either. I was just a little fucking busboy over at little Winky Dink Planet Hollywood pool.
Yeah.
Just hanging out, and literally, I think it was like 2 months later, they're like, "You're hired." And I was like, "Oh God, I don't even know what to expect." I was still living in the fraternity house at the time. Like,
that's what's so interesting about Vegas is you just never really know what to expect. The city is always changing. The standards are always changing. Like everyone is trying to be the next big thing, the next hot shot in the game. And you really just have to show up, and if you're one of the lucky ones, you just naturally get picked. And from there, you just decide your life from then on.
Yeah, I haven't gone through I've gone through that audition, but I always say that Vegas mimics Hollywood in a sense that Hollywood, it's like you said, there's an auditions like there is for film, right? And there's so many different models that you see, and everyone's really, not everybody, but the majority is really pretentious, and they're all about their image. And I'm assuming that's the same in Hollywood from people that I've told, and I guess the movies that I've watched or the little documentaries, that all these people lined up and they're just really kind of in it for themselves. And those auditions in Vegas are somewhat of the same, that everyone is fighting for these finite amount of positions. Like, for example, at Omni, I think they said over 5,000 girls ended up applying for it, and they only hired 100. So that's, 1 in 50.
The odds are definitely low for everybody, but like you said, it is a very competitive market. Like they don't pay you the big bucks to be average, like they really know how to pick and choose like out of the masses that come here. I know I've met people during auditions who come here from different countries, and there's language barrier and there's accents in different states. People travel from across the country just to come here to audition. And I have a feeling that it's exactly the way I thought, because they come here, they have a good time. They want to live this life, but also like they don't know what to expect, because I'm sure back where they're from, the standards are a lot different. So you really you get sideswiped. I mean, I showed up in sweatpants. Like I had no idea.
And so what was so you got hired, you moved back 2 weeks later. And what was that first experience, the first few days onto the job?
When I moved here, I started work the next day. And the first 2 weeks, obviously training for a brand new venue, for a brand new season. It's very long, it's gruesome, it's daunting. But you don't really know anybody. And you get this sense that everyone's kind of on the same boat. The moment you start talking to people, you start realizing that they're also not from here. They just moved here last week. They moved here for the job. And here we are just in a situation where no one really knows each other. So it felt very equal. And then training together obviously bonds you a little bit when you go on lunch breaks together. But I will say, the first few months here in Vegas was, I never cried more in my life. I'm not much of a crier. It has to really hit me emotionally for me to cry. And I've never felt so lonely, because I was here. I lived here. I was away from everybody that I knew. And in Orange County, I had a web of friends. It wasn't a core group of 5. It was like a core group of 50. And everywhere we go together. And I was used to calling somebody at a drop of a penny and they're there. Like, we're here for it. Like I'm used to that type of like homie style, like ride or die mentality. But here I noticed that everyone so much cares for themselves, the way they look. Their appearance is very important. Like you will get bailed on for 3 weeks because somebody has to move their nail appointment and or their eyelash appointment before you really get to see them. And I'm not used to that type of energy or that type of lifestyle. And so, yeah, it was very depressing for the first, I want to say 2 to 3 months. I didn't have any friends. I didn't have anything to do. But I really learned to be by myself. Like I was able to go, I mean, I didn't go to the movies by myself, But I definitely learned to eat at restaurants by myself and to be content with being who I am. You have to learn that really quick here, especially if you move out here and you know nobody. So I got really, really comfortable doing that, which is something I was never alone back home. So that was a growing experience for sure. That was step one. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm born and raised here, so I haven't had to have that experience. But I hear that similar story from a lot of different people that have been on the show and off the show. Is you have to become independent in the beginning, and the only way that people succeed is stepping outside of your comfort bubble, right? Like you were aware that you were inside of a comfort bubble in OC. And you needed to step outside it.
Right.
And so you went on a whim, came out here, and you moved. And then you realized that outside this bubble, it was a little scary, but that it was the right move at the end of the day.
And you meet a lot of people that will challenge your character. And I have a very strong moral compass, and there's not a lot that can deter me and or persuade me if I feel strongly about something. Like, obviously, I keep a very open mind, and I give everybody chances on and on again. More so than I'd like to, but you learn a lot because people do challenge you and test you here. And going into that, I'll tell you a story about, there was this one guy, we had these things called outreaches. And what that really entails is the company, it is a scheduled shift for you to make an appearance at dinner, make an appearance at the club. They provide you this elegant dinner, this bottle service lifestyle, and it is mandatory. You get paid for this to sit at a table and beautify the club. That's one way to look at it. Some people are with that, or some people like me take advantage of it, and it is a bonding experience every week. We're gonna make the most of it, realize that we're young, and really take in these opportunities, be grateful for them, and have a good time. So while doing these outreach events every week, you run across people, mainly men, and I specifically remember meeting this one guy, and he just kept grabbing my arm, twirling me around, and really just looking at me as if I was a piece of meat. And in the end, he asked me all these questions, like, where do you work? You're tiny. Where do you work? And I said, Tao, with pride. And he looks down at me, chuckles, rolls his eyes, and hands me a card and says, when you want to work and make real money, you can hit me up. Okay. So here I am, a few months in, right? Finally making some friends, finally having fun, and outreaches aren't awkward anymore where you're sitting around a bunch of strangers. You're now sitting around a few friends who you've connected with over the past few weeks. And I sent him my resume. I took this number. I sent my resume. I sent my headshots. And he sends me pictures of his tongue and the way it moves, and asking me questions like single or dating. And at first, I'm very ashamed to say that I kind of gave into it. I didn't really... I never went out with him. I never went on a date with him. But I did give him the time of day for about half of a day. I was like, no, I am dating, but like back on to the question that I asked you, like, here's my resume. I just kept reverting it back, but I noticed that there was parts of me where I was like, haha, hilarious, funny picture. And it took me about a full 24 hours to slap myself in the face and be like, are you serious? This is not what you're going to handle. This is not who you are. So the next day, here comes another selfie and another video and some more intrusive questions, alluding that if I went on a date with him and or, this for that, like quid pro quo, like if you do something for me, I will get you this job. And it was for a very reputable company. I'm just going to say it right now, for Omnia Nightclub. Mm-hmm. And this was in 2015 when Omnia just opened. It was a brand new club. I was in this club looking at the chandelier and like the dancers and everybody there. It was so elegant. It was nothing I've ever seen before. And I felt really grimy. And I didn't respect myself for that 24 hours that I even thought about giving into this guy. And then, so I finally hit him with the final note. And I said, look, you gave me your card you said that you were going to get me a job. It doesn't seem like you're doing that. So thank you, but no thank you. And his response was, well, I was trying to get you a job, but all right, like if you want to see it like that. So I was like, yeah, bye. So I left him on red, and that was the end of that. And fast forward, I'm at Omnia now. Got it fair and square. I walked into those auditions knowing nobody and just worked really hard for it. And I'm way more proud of myself for working my way towards everything that I have today, as opposed to feeding into that type of energy, because Vegas is as well, like these jobs, like we said, are very competitive. So because of the competitive nature, and it's a cattle call, like thousands of people want this job. And for you to be selected it's a small odd. But because of that, people are willing to provide sexual favors and to go beyond what they're comfortable doing to get this job, to provide the lifestyle that they want.
Yeah, let's actually dive a little deeper. I'm interested in this interaction between, male and females, and kind of just the dynamic behind that, because Vegas is a very sexually driven town, right? It was built on sex with prostitutes and gambling, and it was like the Sin City, Devil Wears Prada, go down there and just have a wild, crazy time.
Yeah, and everything that happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Mm-hmm. And so when you're female in Vegas, you have to be aware of a male's motives behind it, right? Like if you're out in New York, the hidden motives are probably financially driven because it's a city that's built on finance. If you're out in LA, it's probably a status driven motive.
100%.
In Vegas, it's a sexually driven motive. And so you have to be aware of what they're trying to do with you. When these kind of interactions happen with, let's say, a man of a higher status who has some sort of power, are you aware immediately that they're trying to exploit for some sort of sexual favor?
I will say yes and no. It really depends. There are a lot of standout people here, obviously, in positions of power that really respect their jobs, and they have a lot of integrity behind it. But there will be that, don't discount it, don't discredit it, but there will be that very few that know their position of power. I like to kind of call them, I'm going to go down in flames for this, those guys probably that didn't get a lot of attention growing up, from female counterparts. So now that they're in a position where they have that type of power, they're going to exercise it to their fullest ability, because they know that there are some girls that will give them what they want, and in turn, they can offer them a job. I've been told a lot of grimy things. And another one that I can tell you is I'm from an area where you're very used to speaking our own minds, and your opinions matter. So I voiced an opinion twice, actually, in 2 different jobs about how I felt about fairness and equality. And I got punished for it. Financially. So they made sure that even though a company that runs on a standard of the highest sellers make the most money, it's a very, performance driven company. But when you challenge them, they're not looking for somebody to be challenged. They're looking for somebody to smile, do the job. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Like, do not challenge them. But the moment you do, it's like you go from making the most money, and they made sure of that, to making the worst money, and they made sure of that. And it's egotistical. So you really have to be careful in this city. And obviously there's a lot of great things that can come out of it, but you get tested a lot, and you really have to know who you are as a person, what you stand for, and what you're capable of doing, and just really know your place, and just be grateful for everything you have, because you never know we're going to say that time and time again. Like, you just never know with Vegas. It's just,
there's so many things that are going on. And when you're aware, or when something clicks in your mind that a man is trying to exploit you, how do you typically navigate this sort of conversation?
in what way?
Like if they're trying to, it's like a tit for tat kind of thing. Like you explained earlier, that they'll get you a better paying job if you'll go out on a date with me. And maybe it's not so invasive and they try to be passive aggressive about it. Do you typically just not respond, or is there a way to kind of circumvent around that to express that you're not interested?
That's a very loaded question, I think.
Okay.
I will say that situation has only ever happened to me maybe one time, which is that time that we talked about. But since then, the way I deal with it, obviously it hasn't happened to me enough for me to have that much experience on it. But since that moment, I just knew to stay strong in my own personality and what I'm willing to accept in my life and what I'm not willing to accept. And I think that I hold myself, like that energy really travels around me. Like I do believe in manifestation, and what you put out in the world is what you will receive. But the moment I set that standard for myself, it's never happened again, because when people talk to me, I lay down the line of what there is to respect about me, and what I will take and what I won't. And I make that very clear. I'm not saying it like I'm invasive, like I get in people's faces and I'm like, aggressive about it, but it's more so just the way you speak and your presence. I'm not going to be one of those girls that's like, like laughing at every single one of your jokes. Like, and if it's not funny, it's not funny. that's just that. So I think that people, men especially, really feel that vibe off of me, and I make sure to just stay genuine and just really discontinue any conversation or any vibe that I don't feel right and I don't feel belongs in my life.
That's good. Yeah, you have to stand your ground out here. And
100%.
The last one, but this goes for customers as well. This kind of the way that you present it, whether it's like a man that you know or that you have just met and that they're purchasing bottles or whatever the kind of case is. Mm-hmm. Similar one.
Okay, so when it comes to like table sales, so I am a server now. A lot of guys, it's just natural for them. Like a lot of guys here, especially the people that generally buy tables, I won't say it's the biggest majority. It's going to be bachelor parties and like group of guys coming out here for their last hurrah before they get married. So it's a destination to celebrate that. Like we see that more than we see most. And it's like a construction site, right? It's a heavily male, and guys are very primal. Like just in life, like men and women are just very primitive. And being a cocktail server wearing a short dress that has cleavage and legs and arms, like it's a very sexual thing. And you're constantly bending over to make drinks and feeding them alcohol all night. Like what happens when you give a group of men, let's say 15, and you're the only woman at that table in a short dress?
You're going to get attention.
What's going to happen when you feed them 3 glasses of alcohol? They're all going to start looking at you like they're interested, and not everyone, but every few who are brave enough are going to try to battle and take turns on who's going to solidify this date tomorrow. And, it's funny. A lot of girls actually wear mock rings. So they'll wear fake diamond rings, cubic zirconia, like that they buy at the local Walmart. They'll wear that just to stop swatting men away like flies. It's funny. It is a technique, but some girls are into it. Some girls aren't. Like you just really know how to show the ring and really like give off that vibe that you're taking. But if they don't get that vibe, if you just say it like I'm in a relationship, most people, like 97% of guests, are very respectful of that. So after that, what do? You just get them different girls. you tell them, hey, take a lap, like go find your own girls. I'll be here to serve you, like with all due respect, but bring in anyone you want and we'll gracefully invite them into the table and serve you from there. And that way you can continue on with your good time.
Yeah, there's so many gray areas when it comes to just the party scene in Vegas and just everything that goes along there, just because of like you're saying, the like hypersexuality of the strip nature, and like we were saying in the beginning, everyone's really focused on themselves, so everyone's looking like an 11 out of 10, or however you want to say it. So.
I look at some of these girls and I'm like, how?
Yeah.
Wow, I'm just starstruck. Like I can see J-Lo walk by and not feel the same as when I look at some of these girls. I'm just like drop dead gorgeous. It's just, it's a lot of beautiful people just roaming this city and working in this city for sure.
Yeah, and it's almost intimidating. I remember when I first got hired at Omnia, I was intimidated to work even in the main room.
100%.
I was like, wow, there's so many beautiful women in here. Like,
I still feel this way.
yeah, it's blessed to be in that situation, but even still being in the industry for 5 years, I still sometimes feel nervous around people that I've known for 5 years that are beautiful. It's this weird interaction where it's like, you know that you're both friends, but in a primal way, you both may be attracted to one another or just one way. So it's like, how do you suppress those primal feelings?
Right.
But then you still have to make a living and become friends with each other.
Yeah, it's still a business relationship alongside a social friendship as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and one of my favorite times at work too is always sitting and talking with the server in the beginning for like an hour.
It's always fun.
It's a different conversation though when you're sitting around and just waiting for a table to come than it is to, like, me and you sitting here and having a conversation where we're aware that people are listening and you have to present the conversation a little different.
Right. So like you said, like in a club environment, you're paired, right? So you have a server and a busser together. You are friends the entire night. You cannot escape each other. You have to work alongside. And at that beginning, we opened the club at 10, but let's be honest, no one's ever really on time. Their idea of be here at 10 is like be here at 11:30. So that first hour and a half really, or until your table shows up, you are bonding and you really get to know people. And with some interactions, it can feel a little bit more surfaced, like, hey, so how are you? Mm-hmm. How is the girlfriend? Or do you have a house? Like it can be basic, or you can really take those times to really be genuine and dive deep into a conversation. I've had some of the deepest conversations, even with you at a table, where we're just getting into the nitty gritty, just talking life, philosophy. It could be whatever, but you really want to take advantage of those because, everywhere we go, we're constantly trying to make connections. And if you're not trying to utilize every single day and making those connections in Vegas, you've never really lived the true Vegas experience then.
I kind of hope we could go back to work soon, because now that I've started the podcast, I kind of see it as like a testing ground for how to hold conversations and present it and dive deeper now, and to like get more under the surface, because some people don't open up at all. But
that's true. I think because the city is so transient that a lot of people think that this is just a short-term thing for me. Like, I'm not here to make connections. A lot of people actually move here, like myself, to make money. So money is on the forefront of their mind. And as long as they're achieving that goal every night at work, I'm here, I'm making money, I leave it at work, or like I leave my work life at work and then I bounce. Right? Some people have that mindset. So a lot of those people don't really want to open up because they don't see you as a lifelong partner or like a friend. They just see you as, it is somebody I work with. So I'm here. I have a mindset. People here, anybody can work with you between 21, 40. They all look so good. You can never really tell anymore.
Dude, yeah. The way that the health is progressing, the 50 is now the new 40,
I hear 30 is the new 20. So yeah. We're hitting that.
So do you see Vegas as a transient town for you, or do you see it as maybe a permanent home?
It is 100% a transient town for me. It's taken me a really long time to accept Vegas as a home. I mean, I've lived here since 2015. We're now in 2020. I had a vision to live here. The timeline was, quote, until I pay off my debt, end quote. And that happened a lot sooner than I had anticipated. That happened within the first year. So I moved back home like planned. And I got a job at some fine dining lounge in Newport Beach, where I was living at the time. And I realized how hard I was working, the long hours I was working for making a fraction of what I make out here. So I decided that I was going to come back, audition again, and move back here and save money for one more year. Here's a timeline again. And here I am 5 years later. You know, and my reasoning behind that is, yes, it is a transient city for me. It is definitely not my end goal, but it's given me a lot of opportunity today. To this day, I'm very grateful for everything that I've been giving here, for the life experiences I've lived here, for the immense growth that I've really made here in the past 5 years. Every year, I'm a brand new person. I'm like Lisa 5.0 right now. So
Is that for 5 years?
5 years, yes. I'm so glad you caught that. So yeah, very grateful for the opportunities here, but definitely not the lifestyle that I would want to live for the rest of my life. I always say that I work in the industry. I'm not an industry girl. Like, I show up to work and then I leave, and then I want nothing to do with the strip on my off days. I want to work on who I am as a person and what I want to accomplish and utilize in my free time, and how I can be a better version of myself, how I can be Lisa 6.0 by year 6.
Yeah, we all go through those growing pains when you first get the industry job for a few years. You want to have the same experience that you had when you were a tourist and coming out here. So you kind of go wild. You go out with your coworkers and you go out with clients and all these different people that you meet, and maybe you spend way much more money than you should, and you don't really save anything. But there always comes a moment in time where you're like, wow, this is not what I need to sustain my future.
You know what?
I have to take a break. And then there's that like thought loop, and you're like, all right, I've been going out partying cycle for 2 years. All I've done is built social equity with people, but now I need to build equity within myself.
Exactly. And this is the perfect land for that. When I say that this is the land of opportunity, it truly is. You can make connections everywhere, but social equity, yes, like you said, you can meet so many people here, and people come here from around the world. So you can either climb that social ladder, or you can climb your own like personal ladder, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And so at what year did you realize that you needed to take a turn from the normal Vegas, I call it the vicious Vegas cycle of just going out partying, hungover, and then doing it all over again?
So I moved here in 2015, like said. Just a quick reminder. So I did that whole party thing. Outreach was every Monday. We did that Monday. We'll roll into Tuesday. You know, you're 25. You have all the energy in the world. Hangovers don't exist to you. And then you meet great people along the way. You're frolicking in the club. Like, you don't really have to stay at the tables. You meet people. You meet guys. Like, you know, women are primitive too. Like, we see something we like, we're going to go over there and be cute. So, fast forward to 2016, I found a new partner in crime. Hey, Tara. Found a new partner in crime where we did everything together. I could call her at any hour of the day, and she was there for me. We were both in relationships at the time, but distant relationships. So it kind of felt like we had that single girl vibe, but you know what I mean? So did that all of 2016. And what really made a turn for me was, you know, when you're a bartender here in Vegas, that at the time, that was my position. I was a bartender, and I was very cocky and confident in my ability to tend bar. So 2017 comes around, and I'm auditioning everywhere. I landed 3 jobs, and I had one job that I had in mind as the number one. I accepted 2 of the other jobs until I got the offer from the 3rd. And then once I got that job, I respectfully declined the options 2 and 3. And I thought that life was going to be good for me right here. Like, I made it. I'm in one of the top nightclubs. Like, I felt this was like my dream. This is my goal. And that ended up slapping me so hard in the face, because that was when I went from performance-based company to a seniority-based company. And my experiences before was, hey, like you were hired on for a season, you work all the time. So here I am as another seasonal employee. I'm thinking I'm going to work all the time. That that did not happen at all. I think I worked maybe 15 times. And that's when I say 15 times, I probably worked 3 hours per night in those 15 shifts. And it was a really big shock for me because I'm used to a certain amount of income. I'm used to a lifestyle. I'm used to working hard. And then by the end of the week, which was our Mondays, we go out and we party, right? Like that was a celebration for working. So sometimes I work 29 hours in a course of 2 days. Like that's a lot. It does a lot on your body. So at the end of the week, your work week, you're going to want to go out and celebrate that and have a good time and just gray out. So I wasn't making that type of money, and I didn't know where I was going to find where my next paycheck was going to come from. I cried a lot. This is another episode of me crying for like 6 months straight of just I was used to a certain lifestyle. I was used to having X amount in a bank and having X amount coming in every week to not knowing at all when my next shift was going to be or how I was going to pay rent at the end of the month alongside my car or insurance or phone bills or just, monthly bills that you could keep up with. So that was a really big turning point for me in 2017 because not only was I depressed and crying all the time, but it was more so I didn't deserve to go out. I didn't work enough. I don't even have money to go out. Like, what am I going to do? Like, all of my friends are working, happy, making money. And here I am moping in a house for the past 6 months, crying because I'm hoping and praying that this Friday they're going to bring me in, but they don't. So that was a really big turning point for me. That was also another moment of growth where I stopped going out. 2017, I was 27, still had all this energy, but felt like all of it was getting sucked out because I was so down on myself because I felt like I made the wrong decision. I felt like the other jobs could have worked me more, but that was a big turning point for me. I had to find what else there was for me to do. And that was when my cockiness and my confidence really went away. And that was when I realized, like, you are not above any other job. Like, you need to get a job. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to do something outside of my moral compass, but I had to find a way to survive. So from there, I picked up 4 jobs.
Putting work in. Would you consider this your rock bottom of your Vegas experience?
I will say, yes, it was a humbling year. And I really feel like whoever was up above, I don't know what anybody believes in, but whoever was up above, like, was really telling me, in short and simple, be humble, sit your ass down. So that was another moment of growth that I'll never forget that. And to this day, I'm very, very grateful and very, very humble for any experience that I'm given. And really, I try to find the light in everything that I do.
Yeah, life is really about perspective and finding the silver linings in anything that you could do. When you were saying that, I was kind of thinking about literally right now how, nobody's working on the strip. Well, now there's a few people working, but they're
not happy about it either.
Yeah, for the last 2 months, everyone's sitting at home and you have to find the silver linings on what your future looks like. There's this, like, your confidence maybe is down a little bit, but it's these rock bottom experiences, whether it's your financial rock bottom, your personal confidence rock bottom, all these different rock bottoms, you have to be able to look forward, and I call it personal rebranding.
I love that.
Yeah. Rebrand whatever, specific niche you need to do and what different directions. So,
especially right now too, during quarantine, like, there's a lot of people here who live, eat, breathe the industry. Like, they are at every nightclub. They know everybody. This is their lifestyle. They condone it. They never want to leave. They want to die here in this club. There are a lot of people here that are like that. And when quarantine happened, it was like an identity crisis for these people, because now everything that they knew, that they're comfortable, that made them who they are, is now taken away from them. So what do you do from there?
Identity crisis. That's a perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
Especially when your identity, like you're saying, it's based off of reputation, but You can't really have a reputation at home unless you're a YouTube personality or an influencer, or
on the Guest List podcast.
Let's fucking go. Here we go. So let's get back to, so it's 2017. you had your own identity crisis. You took up a few jobs. And then I know, was it 2018 where you found, I guess, a new hobby in becoming a cheerleader for the Golden Knights?
I wouldn't say that is a new hobby. Dance is my number one passion. I'm not the greatest at it, but it is something that, I've always wanted to dance for Missy Elliott, Pussycat Dolls, Sierra. Like it is, most of the things on my life bucket list revolves around dancing. So,
and that comes from dance when you're younger?
Yeah, just having a passion for it since as long as I can remember. And here is this opportunity here that Vegas is going to get its first ever hockey team, like professional NHL hockey team. And I'm not going to lie, my boyfriend at the time, or my boyfriend now, wow. Sorry, Tyler, is a big hockey guy. He grew up playing hockey. That was his goal. He has family members who are in the NHL. So he was actually the one that sent me the link. I would have not have seen it if it wasn't for him. And his motive was, babe, please try out for this so we can get free tickets. So I was like, okay, well, I have nothing to lose. And, your girl needs a job. So I went to these auditions. This is my very first professional, sports audition. I know that back in Orange County, we had the Ducks, and I always wanted to be a Ducks girl because if you're shoveling ice as a Ducks girl, you are bomb.com. That is its own reputation. But somehow, every time I was notified of the auditions, it's always been like a week post due. Like I'm late again for the third year in a row. I guess I really didn't care for it that much then. If I
no sweatpants this time, right?
No sweat. I probably would have showed up and they would have been hot. Let's take her. Orange County vibes. So I showed up to this and I ended up making it. Blew me away. Another one of really great experiences that I've experienced here in Vegas. Another life turning moment. And another thing that I can grow old and tell my kids, follow your dreams.
Were the auditions for the Golden Knight cheerleaders, were there any similarities you saw with nightclub, and day club auditions?
No. I can't say it's a definitive no. So the first round was straight hit cardio. What? It was 8 a.m. I didn't drink coffee at the time. I was a pre-workout girl at that time.
Man.
I didn't even hit the gym yet. Didn't have my morning poop. Nothing was in motion at that time. And here I am doing burpees and push-ups and what? What is happening? It's 8 a.m. So they had us holding planks, jumping jacks, running around. And they're standing here with a whistle and a clipboard, just taking notes.
So it's like a physical aptitude test?
It was at first. And then it was a skating round. Yeah.
What's a skating round?
They had you put on some ice skates and
literal ice skating.
Ice skates, and I've probably ice skated 1.5 times in my life, and I don't remember being successful. But I'm all right, confidence. I got the whistle blown on me probably the second round. All right, Lisa, you out. They called my number. I wasn't even surprised. I was like, you right? Struggling. And at that moment, I was so sad. I was like, okay, well, I'm definitely not shoveling ice for the Golden Knights. I didn't know what I wanted. But if you got cut for the skating section, which in comparison to the Ducks, the girls who shoveled the ice, the ice girls, were the tits, right? So I thought I got cut to shovel ice. And I'm like, dang, there's no more important role for me. And I was so down on myself, but they gave us a speech and they're like, actually, please stay. We have, at the time they worded it differently. I forget what the title was. I don't want to say it because I'm going to butcher it, but it was something along the line of promo. That's what it was. It was promo girls. That was the title at the time. And I was like, I'm not going to be a pro. I'm not going to pass out t-shirts and stand at the front and like sell tickets. Like I didn't know what to expect, but I was like, you know what, stay humble, sit down. If 2017 taught you anything, like sit down. So I stayed the rest of the audition, and blessing in disguise, actually, that was the role that I wanted. I just didn't know it at the time. So the next few rounds, they did interviews. Just on-camera interviews. You're standing in front of the judges. They can hit you with any question possible. I think one of the questions I got was, if you had superpowers, what would it be? And the camera is in your face. Like there is no escaping it. The judges are there. The girls are there. Everybody's watching. You're standing up just around everybody doing these interviews with the camera in your face. You can imagine it can be pretty nerve-wracking if you didn't know what to expect. And I got the job. Super excited, still completely humbled and honored for that experience. And throughout the season, you know, it was inaugural. So they have some kinks that they're working out. And they really focused on dancers in the group. So if they knew that you were a dancer, they would give you choreography, and then you would hang up in the castle where the cameras are on you at all times, and you're just doing dances and just having a good time. And then slowly in the season, they started incorporating dances around the stadium. So, so sooner or later, everybody had to at least have some knowledge of being a dancer. But we've had opportunities to dance with Lil Jon. That was really cool. Like be his background dancer and like dance for other big name artists that were represented by the Golden Knights. And it just, I say cheerleader, but you're kind of everything, right? You're a brand ambassador. If you dance, they're going to put you in dance roles and give you opportunities like dance for Lil Jon. And that year was just, wow. It was just one of the best years of my life. I just didn't realize that I did not want to shovel ice.
So cheerleader is just kind of like the umbrella term for all the different things underneath it.
It is, because in the NHL, it's not normal to have cheerleaders. It's girls who shovel ice. Like,
yeah, and there's ice skating rinks. Like, where do you cheer?
Exactly. But Vegas is its own breed, right? It's its own monster. It's its own entertainment company. So they expect no less from a professional NHL team, and that's exactly what we did. We delivered, and I even went back to the Ducks, one of the Ducks games, and let me tell you, I mean, no shame and no hate on the Ducks, but damn, man, your vibe is nothing compared to Vegas. And we have people coming here, like visitors from like Alaska and different states, like our friends who are from Michigan and Atlanta. They come here, and one thing on the top of their list is they want to go to a Golden Knights game. And every time they go, you get the same reaction from everyone. They're like, that is unlike anything I've ever experienced before. Like that is the energy in that arena is insane. And it's like, to associate myself with that, to say that this is something that I've done is like, it blows me away. Like to this day, I still can't believe I did it. And I was given that opportunity.
What was being behind the scenes of the first season like, especially that they made it all the way to the Stanley Cup and you even got to be a part of that at home? What was that whole experience like, seeing things from, obviously you're dancing during the game, but you get to go back behind the stage and see things as well? Oh,
it was the energy behind stage, and the energy on stage was no different. Like if the team won, we're taking the back stairs down, but we are so hyped. We're cheering. Sometimes the public, the general public could use that staircase as well. So we're just cheering and chanting the whole way down. And I was one of those girls that hung out on top in the castle a lot because dancers were up there. And so one of the perks of being up there was you get to hang out with the drummers. The drummers are so much fun. So imagine any song that comes on in the arena, they just start tapping. Like, it's natural.
They have to be high energy.
They're musicians. They just start tapping. They come up with their own beat. And as they're doing that, we'll vibe with them and we'll just come up with our own dance. And it's like one girl doing 2 moves and we'll rock that out for like 8 counts. And then the next girl comes up with the next move and then we'll rock that out for the next until somebody else wants to take turn. It was really like a session up there. And when you win, the drummers are with you. We're running downstairs. They're drumming this beat. Like it's like a victory beat. They do it every single time. And it's something that they made up on their own. And even when the public was in there, like it's just the chants, just VGK, Golden Knights, like go Knights, go. Like you just hear that everywhere. And just that energy is just something that everyone should really experience. And I was very lucky that in the inaugural season that we won a lot. Like there was like a revenge. There was like an energy in our team and in the Golden Knights, the players, that it's like they're these guys that didn't get kept from their other teams and they're pissed about it and they have something to prove. Right. So this energy was monstrosity, like all over the ice rink. And they delivered that year. And to be like an inaugural team who everybody started shitting on, to making it to the Stanley Cup, like that's something that I'm still, again, like truly blessed to be a part of.
And it's quote unquote the All-American rejects, or we'll call them the All Las Vegas rejects. But they literally surprised everyone. No one really had any expectations. They were literally the best expansion team ever in any sport across any board.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, across anything. They're actually, I think, the only expansion team to ever have a winning record in their first year in any sport.
I'm ashamed that I don't know that.
Yeah. I actually wish I had like a Jamie character like Joe Rogan so I could have someone fact check me to make sure, but we're just going to have to go off my word for right now.
I think we'll just send him the podcast, send him the link.
Yeah.
See what he says.
One day I'll have Jamie, but yeah, that energy is something that built T-Mobile into being the number one arena in the world now.
Oh, is it? Another thing I didn't know. Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So you got to be a part of that growth from the ground up to the top.
Yeah. Ooh, it's hitting me now. It's hitting me again.
Once the season was over, did you have aspirations to go for a second season, or did you decide to do something different with maybe dance?
Yes, I did have different aspirations. I want to say like 90% of the team re-auditioned, and I was I had my foot in the door, but I had it out the door at the same time. Like I was never really in the room when auditions season 2 came around, because in my experiences with a lot of things, the first year for me is always a killer. And if I was blessed enough to check that off my bucket list, and it was such a memorable, positive experience, and it was the inaugural season. So, like I said, they were smoothing out a lot of kinks and figuring out what works for them and what didn't, that I didn't want to mess up my perception of my experience with the second year, because then I'm always going to have something to compare it to. So then I decided for myself that it was time to move on to something else.
It's a great perspective to have.
Thank you.
There's some things are just left as a one of a kind.
Exactly.
As they say it.
Exactly. And I'm so glad that I actually didn't come back a second year. And although it's always going to be a good experience, I did find that a lot of people started comparing year 1 to year 2. And that's exactly what I didn't want for myself. So I'm glad that I wasn't a part of the second year, but I'm also very grateful for the first year that I was able to be a part of it.
There's a trend that I noticed with you since we've had this conversation, is that you become very aware of when it's time to move on from something, even though you may feel inside that you should stay and that you want to continue to have a fun. But like you said, literally the first thing you said is that you're really big on personal growth. And so you've been able to step out of that bubble multiple times along this journey that we've had for almost an hour so far.
Has it already almost been an hour?
Oh, yeah, we got plenty of time. So what?
I'm going to be one of those 2-hour people, I think.
Like I was saying in the pre-conversation, I would love to be like Joe Rogan and have a 3.5-hour conversation, but I just don't have the credibility yet. So
you will.
Down the road, I would love to, and I still have to hone my own skills as far as speaking, but it takes time. You're
a natural.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. And so let's get back to you though.
Okay.
So what happened after the Gold Knight season was over? Where was your next step?
So that year in general, that was still 2017. That was a really hard year for me. I had a lot of experiences that I was grateful for, but I also had a lot of trying times. I think at the time I picked up 4 jobs. So I worked as a Golden Knights girl. I worked at a nightclub. I picked up a job at Twin Peaks. So it's like similar to like a Hooters, right? And I never in my right mind thought that I would work somewhere like that. And, but at that time, like I was so desperate for an income and so desperate for stability that I was not above anything else. So I had a friend that worked there, and she told me like, I know it's not the ideal job, but I make good money. So why don't you come here and join me? So I was like, okay. I didn't even know what Twin Peaks was. So I was like, sure. Okay. I have to wear a 2-piece though. Like, I'm not sure if I want to objectify myself like that, but whatever. We do it every day. So what's different here? So, so I picked up that job, and I also did another job for a modeling agency. And that was also like, again, like you never know where your income was coming from. And if you're having income from all 4 places, it still wasn't enough. So I did whatever I could to just survive that year. And so I guess the next step after the Golden Knights was to work really hard to try to get into a better club, a club where I have the opportunity to make money, where it was more performance based as opposed to seniority based, because at this point I have PTSD. Like, I don't want to do anything with seniority. And I worked harder than I've ever worked in my life. I've never had a 6-pack before in my entire life. One of the girls on VGK actually has a banging bod. She fights. She's forever living in a 6-pack. So I hit up everybody I could. Like before, I was like, yeah, I'm cute. Like I have a rockin' bod. It wasn't, I guess, my cockiness, like, again, sit down, stay humble, right? So I asked anybody for the best advice that they could give me to get a 6-pack, to work out. I know how to work out, but it was just, I could not get a 6-pack to save my life. And with the auditions, you want to do whatever it takes to stand out. Whatever it takes, do the most, like get your nails done, extensions if you have it, like whatever, do the most. So you can feel like when you walked in there, you gave it all you had. And a rockin' bod here in Vegas is a thing, because you have to work in bikinis. And what's going to set you out between the other 5,000 plus people who are here to audition, who are gorgeous? What's going to set you apart? Not everyone has a 6-pack. So I've never eaten so clean in my life. I think I cut out carbs. And if you know me, like,
you're such a foodie.
I am a foodie. Like, no one is going to separate my relationship with me and what's in front of me that I'm about to devour. So I cut out carbs. I worked out 2 to 3 times a day. I took water pills, like things that I don't even do. And I'm a tan person. Okay. Like, I'm naturally very tan. I have great melanin. I have sexy melanin. I even got a spray tan. I got my nails done, which I don't do. I don't get my nails done ever. I think I get them once a year, and it is for auditions. I put extensions in my hair. Like, I was so extra. I even had a 6-pack. I contoured that with extra, like I even got a spray tan, but I even like contoured it with like makeup. I bought makeup. Like, these are things that are just outside of who I am. But that was my next goal, was I wanted to make sure that I'm giving Vegas all that I had in order to get the job that I wanted, the best job, the best possible job. I wanted to work towards it, because that was my last hurrah, because I was not about to live in Vegas another year being unhappy, not making the kind of money that I'm used to making. And that was my next like turning point. I think it was either this is going to keep you here or you're going to move. It's time to move if you don't get a job. These are signs. It's time to leave if you don't get a job. But I'll be damned if I didn't go in there and gave it like all that I had.
Lisa 3.0.
There's 3.0. So when I got that job, my standards were lower. Like, I wanted like a B-list pool, like a day club. I didn't want to do like an A-list pool, because I didn't think that I matched up to the other girls that they generally hire for these pools. Like, I'm not ripped. I'm not like a 20 out of 10, so it's like, I knew, like, I'm gonna stay in my perimeters. So I was like, I'm okay with like a B-list pool and like a C-list pool. I'm okay with that. And when they called me and offered me Omnia Nightclub at 8:30 p.m., and the sound was coming from the Bluetooth in my car as I'm like driving down the strip, I about shit my pants. Like, I screamed on the phone, like at the top of my lungs. And I was like, wait, is this a permanent job or a seasonal job? And HR was like, this is a permanent job. And I screamed again. She was not amused. She just stayed quiet and was like, waiting for me to be done.
She's like, are you done now?
Yeah. Like, and then when I was done, she was like, So anyways, but yeah, and it's weird that I was on the fence. I was offered 2 jobs and I was on the fence. And I almost did not take Omnia because I was being introduced into another seniority job. And I was going to be last in the totem pole. And at the last job, I was last in the totem pole. And I never worked. I can't say never, but hardly, rare instances you would see my face pop up there. But I just didn't want to repeat the same scenario that I was in where I was miserable, and I almost took the other job. But I talked to so many people and it was uncomfortable because I was kind of looking out for myself to get as much validation as I could, talking to anybody that I could in the industry that I knew. And I knew a lot of people. And, a lot of people didn't get their dream job or whatever. And so to be able to talk about that to everybody, it's a weird feeling, right? Because some people are salty and they don't want to hear it because they didn't get their dream job. And I should be blessed to have this job, but why am I being dumb and thinking, why am I even second guessing this, right? Like, that's the energy that I got from a lot of people. But I just didn't care. Like, I want to make sure I was making the right decision for myself. And most fingers pointed at Omnia. But my 2 things was, okay, I can either work at this pool and it's a fresh start, just like how I started here in Vegas, and make all the friends, everyone's family, because no one is above anybody, right? You're all here, you're new in a venue together. So you're all going to party and get to know each other like a family. Like, do I want to repeat that experience, but maybe make a lot less and be a little bit more stressed out because of guest lists and stuff? Or do I want to take a chance and go into another seniority type job and be permanent and risk like the unknown? So long pros and cons list, debates, everything led me to Omnia. And to this day, one of the best things I could have done for myself here in Vegas.
That's I always give Omnia one of the best decisions for myself to be made it as well.
It is.
It's an interesting company. It is seniority based, but the positioning is performance based. So you kind of got a hybrid of both.
That's true. That is very true.
Think about it. Yeah. Omnia, it's 3 rooms to the club. And obviously all the big spenders are in the main room with the DJs like Calvin Harris, Zed, Tiesto, all these different people. And then you have Terrace, which is the cheaper area, and obviously depending on your position, the money can differ to a little to a lot. And so the club, they always want to put their top sellers in the main room where all these people have larger incomes and a larger amount of money to spend.
Yes.
And so it becomes worrisome for people because obviously it's a good job, but you want to try to maximize as much profit while you're there. And so the company wants to do the same and the employees want to do the same. And so that's where it could become competitive, but
it is very competitive.
But it is a hybrid of both, which looking from the outside, it's really tough to know.
And there's also Heart of Omnia, those girls that's a hip hop room. Like those girls that they love hip hop, they thrive with hip hop, they love that room. Everybody has their niche, right? And whichever room that they belong in, that's really, you're against all these other, not against, but you're with people who have that same energy as you. Like if you're a shark and you're a hustler and you want to make the big bucks, everybody that you're in that room with feels that same way. And if you're up on terrace and you love your job, you love to be here, but you just don't have that aggressive energy, then it's then you're up there with everybody who has that same mentality as you do. So I think it works out for both the company and for the employees as well.
And so when you were a tourist and you came here and you saw these bottle girls and then you've gone through multiple jobs and now you're at considerable, arguably the top in the United States, it's like in and out of rankings of a few other clubs. Is it exactly what you expected from looking at it the other side when you first moved here as compared to now you've been doing it for a few years and you're kind of near or at the top?
It is different. It is very different. I think as a tourist, we give people No, okay. As a tourist, I'm saying this wrong. As a tourist and you're here experiencing Vegas, you're going to see the best side of everyone, right? And you assume that it's going to always be like that, like this, like, welcome to Vegas, like energy. Let me show you a good time. Like you think about what you remember, but when you're here and you witness like the back of the house energy, it's very different. It is very different. And it was a culture shock for me at first because we are the city of hospitality, so we do have to provide hospitality, but sometimes you're not having the best experience, but you still got to smile.
It's world-class hospitality. That's what we're known for. We are the city of entertainment, but it becomes that because of the service and the instant gratification that everyone gets while you're there.
You have to uphold a standard.
It's a very mood-based town based off whatever the employee is providing and whatever the guest is feeling at the time. And so there's a combination of both there.
Right.
It's a cool town. And so now that you've been at Omnia, when did you get hired?
I got hired in 2018. So this is technically my third year.
Yeah. So now you've been in the industry. You've been at Omnia for 2.5 years. And so I've known you for 2.5 years. I still remember some of those beginning conversations. Since I've known you, you've done a handful of different business ventures, personal and company based. So I want to touch into those.
Okay.
And then we'll end with your current experience trying out for the Raiders.
Sure.
When I first met you, you were into this business venture. I think it was called Peach
Bottoms.
Peach Bottoms. Yes. Can you expand on that?
Yes. So I've been on this yearning journey to, I like to think of Vegas as my stepping stone, right? This is going to be the place where I can make my dreams come true, but I need to find out what those dreams are. And the end goal of a lot of people here, which I really, really respect, everybody here has a hustle mentality, right? Like they're working here, but they're also trying to move on to something more. And that's exactly my mentality. And I have a passion for things involving like very right brain things, like very artistic and using your hands. I'm very good with that. So you'll see me as a bartender. You'll see me like dancing, anything that involves like bodily interaction and just physical labor. I love that. So anything that you can express yourself in and lose yourself. Cause I'm not diagnosed, but I'm like minorly ADHD, I think, because I can't seem to not do one thing at a time. I have to constantly be doing multiple things at a time. And with that being said, I really enjoy things that take my full focus. I have to invest all of who I am into one thing where I'm a very talkative person, where it kind of takes away my voice. And because I'm so zoned in and honed in on what I'm doing. So, as well as trying to express myself, that is me expressing myself, is expressing creativity. So I needed to find something that hit all those outlets, right? I was actually inspired by my friend who runs her own bikini company called Salt the Soul. Hey, Amber. She's a miracle. She's an inspiration all on her own. She started from the bottom up. She learned how to sew, and she's now delivering bikinis worldwide. She has companies in the Dominican Republic, all these islands who feature her brand, but she wanted to keep it close to the heart and continue sewing it because now it's coming from her heart. It's her passion. So I was very motivated by that. So she was actually my mentor. And I watched a ton of YouTube videos, took 2 sewing classes at Joann's. I think the first one I made a pillow just to understand a machine and like know what it can do. Just starting from the bottom, right? Like learning the basics. And then from there, I started watching YouTube videos over and over and over again until I got the hang of like making reversible bikinis and all these things. And another thing that propelled me to go in this direction was I'm a very petite person, and I had a large chest and like small waist. So a lot of bikinis are sold as a pair. So you can either get a small, a medium, or a large. But most of the times I needed a small bottom, but I needed a large top. And that doesn't happen, right? Like It's very rare that you find these companies that sell them like that. And if you do, you're paying top dollar. So I decided to sew. My focus was like really cheeky bikinis, like bikinis that make your booty pop, which is why the names come peach bottoms. Because if you click on the peach emoji on your iPhone, it literally looks like a little butt.
Yep, that's definitely that's a go-to for it.
Right. So that's actually how I got my inspiration for that name, peach bottoms. So I really wanted to focus on making bikinis that fit petite girls who have trouble finding bottoms that fit them, because I don't know what all these other distributors are doing, but a size small, you guys, in bottoms is huge. So that was that. I think I zoned into that hard. When I invest my time into something, I go all or nothing. And I'm a very intense person in that way. Like it's either 100 or not. So I went full 1,000. I went full 9,000 on this project. I bought a domain. I did everything. I was en route to set up a, like a website. I made this page its own Instagram page. I wore my bikinis. I had models wear my bikinis. I had girls be my sizers who I think fit the brand. I took a lot of pictures. I advertised. I had a list of very supportive people in this industry who are ready to buy from me at the drop of a dime. And as I got good at it, I calculated it took me 3.5 hours to sew one bikini. And how much was I willing to charge for that? Like, you have to be reasonable, right? I'm a month and a half in. And to make it worth my time, I had to charge at minimum $100, because this wasn't just a side job. Like I had planned for this to move into the main hustle, like Amber. She's making so much money for being an entrepreneur and sewing in the comfort of her own house. So that was my plan for this. I had big, big dreams and big goals and big plans. I talked to everybody at work about it. Everyone was so supportive and had my back on it 100%. So I felt like I had a good starting point. A month and a half in, I realized that my energy wasn't the same. I didn't even dance. And like I said before, that's my number one passion. I do it every single week. I dance at minimum 3 times a week in a studio. And I didn't dance once in this 5 weeks. And so I was very honest with myself. I stepped away from it just to give myself a break. The plan was 2 weeks. And within these 2 weeks, it transpired into like 5 months. And every time I walked by this room, and I realized that I never wanted to walk in this room again. And I started to wonder why. I started thinking of myself like, you're a failure. Like, you've been advertising this. It has a domain name. You're paying for it. You built an Instagram. You've been advertising this. People are lining up to buy your product. And here I am feeling like a failure because I'm not about to deliver any of that. So I felt like a fake. Like, I felt like I put all this energy out there and I'm going to be so ashamed to tell everyone, actually, never mind. So I had a talk with a good friend, and hey, Dre, thank you for saying this to me. But she said something that really shined a light, because we were just hanging out, and it's something that we don't do very often. And she told me, you have to be very honest with yourself. And in life, you're going to try a bunch of things. Not everything's going to work for you. And it's better now that people are going to respect you so much more that you're honest with yourself and quit, than to keep doing it out of like feeling to feel a certain way about yourself. Like, you're not going to be happy that way. So if you want to quit, like, don't feel bad, just do it. And that's what I did. And one thing that I really discovered about myself is I don't really like sitting down for long periods of time. And that's what sewing is. You sit down for a long period of time. And arguably, everyone's like, well, you can get a stand-up table, you can stand up. But no, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I realized that everything I do in life has to have a passion and a meaning behind it. And although sewing was very fun, and here I am acquiring a new skill, now I can make bikinis on my free time, but I don't want to do it as a job.
The realm of entrepreneurship has more up and down paths than anything I've ever experienced in my life.
You would know yourself.
It's every single day you wake up and you feel like you could take on the world, whether it's you sold more products or you learned a new skill within whatever you're trying to build. And then other days you wake up and you just question why the fuck you're doing it. Like it's really, really tough. But here we go again with your awareness. You're aware that you didn't come out of that valley. You'd hit a bottom and you weren't able to pull yourself out of it. And instead of just trying to climb up this 100-foot mountain that you weren't able to go, you just said that, all right, I think this is the end. And I think that I have to be true to myself and decide to move on. And that from personal experience, I could tell you, is one of the toughest experiences that I've ever gone through as well. I debated this with two of my previous companies for months, 3-4 months at a time. And I had felt like once I'd lost the motivation to do something, I really couldn't pull myself out of it. And then, like you said, you're just like lying to yourself. And if you're an authentic person, lying to yourself is one of the worst internal feelings that you can experience.
I love the way you said that. I actually didn't like that. That wasn't a piece of awareness that hit me just now. Cause I'm like, that is true. Like if you value authenticity, like you really have to be honest with yourself first and foremost. But I think the reason why I took that route was I always had a passion to do hair. I have like this weird thing where I'm always staring at people's hair. I can tell if you have a weave in. Like, I just know. I'm always like matching people's colors to their skin tone and deciding whether or not I like it or not. But that involved going back to school, right? And that's exactly what I was trying to avoid. I was like trying to take a shortcut in my life and discover maybe a new passion that I can do that didn't involve spending another $30,000 in school loan that I just so gracefully paid off a few years ago. Like, here, just throw away my bachelor's degree. It's fine. I was trying to take a shortcut to not go back to school, but again, don't lie to yourself.
Yeah.
Go back to school if that's what you want to do, because that's going to make you the happiest. And since I've made my decision to enroll myself in Paul Mitchell, like to finally do hair, I've never once been sick of it. So
And that's literally the most hands-on position that you could have.
And you're standing the whole time. Like, it's just checking all my boxes. And I get to interact with people on a day-to-day basis. And, you know, you're not a therapist, you're a hairapist. So
That's I preach this a lot through my previous podcast. I'm really big in what's called skill stacking, which is an idea that's brought forth by a lot of entrepreneurs and philosophers, but mostly Naval, Ravikant, and Scott Adams. And they basically have had multiple failures throughout their lives, but they found the silver linings in each different venture that they had. And eventually you have a stack of silver linings.
absolutely, you should.
And then you combine them all together and you find that niche down the road. And that's exactly what you did. Standing, hands-on, talkative, saleswoman.
Yeah, you just want to really focus on, I think in life, just everything that's going to make you happy internally, and then that will flow outward. Like, don't lie to yourself. Like, everyone, whether they like to think so or not, you know, if you're an intuitive person, you can tell when someone's unhappy and when someone's doing something that they love and there's a passion behind it. And I will go to anybody who lives, eats, and breathes passion, because you know that they are taking their profession seriously, because this is what they love to do. They are going to improve at it any way, shape, or form. And that's where you're going to find the truest of people, the most authentic people, because there's no ego behind passion, I think. At least not in my opinion.
No, there's not. If there's passion, then your authentic self comes out. So
Exactly.
your ego is essentially out there in the open, and you have to be able to humble yourself if you're putting yourself out there, or else people are not going to respond well to it.
Exactly.
And you can see usually from that exact experience.
Exactly.
And so, how long have you been at Paul Mitchell now?
You know what? It's a 1,600-hour program.
Oh my God, that's a heart attack.
It's basically a full year, full time. So I'm talking 35 hours a week at Paul Mitchell. Some schools do 40, but I'm on a 35 hours per week program, and I'm scheduled to graduate by the end of August, and I can't wait to get my career started.
Yeah, let's go.
Yes.
Almost there. The 2 days are almost done. But that's also, I remember when you'd first started, when we were at work, you had to do a lot of doubles where you would go to school and then you would work.
Exhausting.
And yeah, it's very exhausting.
Exhausting.
And there's a silver lining to the pandemic where it's giving you time to really focus on Paul Mitchell.
You know what? It's funny. I really did ask God. I was like, please, I hate that there's no break. Like, I just need a break. And here it is. This quarantine happened, and we've been doing distance learning. So we're still able to log hours by doing 7 hours a day, taking tests and watching videos, and still keeping that education going, which is a blessing. So I'm excited because I got the break that I wanted. I mean, if it was up to me, I'd just continue this quarantine all the way and be able to get up at my own time and start doing distance learning at my own pace. But now, starting Monday, we'll be back on a 9 to 4:30 schedule. So here we go. Last 2 months, let's go strong.
During the distance learning, did you feel like you were still able to accrue knowledge for something that's mostly hands-on type profession?
That was the challenge. I did really like, because this distance learning is considered theory hours, and in the field of cosmetology, you need way more practical hours, which is on the clinic floor, than theory hours. While we were in school, we did 1 day of theory a week, and the other 4 days were all practical. So here I am accumulating like 450 something hours of theory already with no practicality underneath my belt. So I'm just wondering how this is going. But I mean, it's a worldly pandemic. They have to accept it. They had to make revisions to state board laws and such. But now that we go back, we aren't taking clients for the next 8 weeks, unfortunately. So all of our practical hours will be on our doll heads. She can't talk back to you. She can't sass you. So.
I mean, that makes sense with the whole pandemic, and there's still uncertainty whether how the transmission is spread, air, through a surface. So there's still a lot of precautions that have to be placed.
So we're working our way towards this new norm that everyone keeps talking about. So we're slowly figuring that out as a world, as a globe,
quote unquote, the new normal. I've probably seen that through the media at least 1,000 times so far.
Right. So that phrase itself, we get it.
We get it. It's a new normal. And also during this pandemic too, we'll touch on the Raiders tryout. Like I said, when we first started, I saw a post where you're in the final round. And so first, congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
I think like you've been through so many different auditions. You know, you did the Golden Knights. You've done various club auditions. What were the auditions like when you first signed up for? Is it Raiderette?
Yes, to be the Raiderette. So here we go with another. The Oakland Raiders are now going to be the Las Vegas Raiders. So here's another inaugural season and another life bucket list thing to do. I've always wanted to be an NFL cheerleader. I wouldn't say that it was on the top of my bucket list, but we're constantly adding things onto this bucket list. It's never concrete. So now this is on my next bucket list. I really do hope I make it. We'll see. We'll find out in this next upcoming week. But the audition process, because I did the Golden Knights auditions, and one of the judges on that during that audition was an ex-Dallas Cowboys cheerleader, I kind of figured it would be somewhat similar. And I mean, the Raiders were very transparent. You can go on their website and they'll tell you what's expected and what the rounds are going to look like. So there's a preliminary audition. So everything was virtual. So this is something new as well. Like usually the auditions are held in person, and sometimes the public is able to attend up until the final rounds. So it's generally like a bigger experience because it is a fun experience, right? And it's something that is a very important role in the NFL world. So people want to be a part of that. And they have no problems sharing that experience with the public. It's a fun thing to come watch. I've never personally been a part of it, but I wish that that was the way that it was ran. But I'm also grateful that it's not like that because the pressure is a lot less intense. But so there was a preliminary round where they sent you the soundtrack. They sent you the video for the choreography. And Oh gosh. So I had all these plans. I was on a diet for 3 days. Flashing back, everybody knows me on diets. This is not Lisa and the word diet just doesn't, they don't go to, they're not coupled together. So I was on a diet. So again, no carbs. Feeling great about myself, but emotionally exhausted because I just want food. Like I thrive off good food. And if your girl can't get good food, like I'm sad. So emotionally exhausted, right? I had planned that day to go to this pool party, and we haven't seen a pool all of quarantine. So I'm excited to go to this big pool and just to be around people again. And I had anticipated for this video, this preliminary audition video to come out around 9, 10 a.m. that day. I was going to learn it, work out, record it on my way at 1 p.m. That was the goal. Obsessively checking my email since the morning, obsessively. I realized, okay, whatever, let's just go to this pool party. We go, it's about 35 minutes away. And by the time we get there, I'm checking my junk mail. Like I didn't even submit in my junk mail. And here it was sent at 10:30 a.m. I just looked at Tyler, my boyfriend, and I was like, I have to go. Like in order for me to enjoy myself, I have to go. I have to get this done. I'm not going to be able to live. I was PMSing, like, the bloat, ladies, it just gets worse day by day. So I was like, I'm dieting. I'm emotionally upset. Like I just need to get this done. I'll be back in a few hours. So I drop him off. We're already there. I let him walk away into this fun town he's about to have. And I just drive my butt home. I learned the whole thing in the living room. I'm feeling confident. Only to find out that I learned the entire routine backwards.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. I almost cried and I was like, you're fine. You are resilient. You're a good dancer. Just everything that moved to the left, just change it to the right. Everything that went right, change it to the left. So I've been doing it at this point for like an hour and a half, right? And so you're used to it in your body a certain way. Mind you, I'm functioning off like a reflection of my TV. I don't even have a mirror in front of me, so I can't even tell what I look like. So I had to relearn the whole thing the other way. So I started from the top. By the time I was ready to record it, it didn't take that long to reverse the whole thing. It's just complicated. You just want to make sure you're doing everything right because it is a virtual audition. So one minor detail could really set you apart from someone else. Like it's not a time to make errors because if this was in person, they would expect no less. So I recorded in my garage and I could not get good. All they asked for was good lighting. It could be in your garage. It could be in your living room, wherever you have space, as long as there's good, bright light. So the garage is banger, right? That the natural light in there is insane. So I set up a table. I couldn't get the angles. I could not for the life of me get a good take. So I put my ring light in my car, drive my butt all the way back to this party and have Tyler stand outside, setting up my ring light, leaving the party. He's drunk. I'm not. I'm hungry. Like, so a drunk person and a hungry person, hangry person come together.
That's a conflict right there.
It's a conflict. So I probably did this. It's a very tiring routine. Okay. I probably did this routine at that rate, probably 26 times if I'm being modest. I'm a perfectionist. So everything down to the way I look on camera. Am I having fun? Is my hair moving the way I want it to move? Like, how's my body angle? How's the positioning? Am I small? Am I big on the camera? Everything has to fit to my liking. And if it's not, we do it again and we do it again and we do it again until I look at it and I'm like, yep, that's the one. And I could not get that feeling. I was so down on myself. And when you start spiraling downwards, you just keep going down until you hit bottom and the only way you can go is up. Right. I just kept going down and down and down. The recordings got worse and worse and worse. And I was exhausted because I'm expending so much energy on this diet that I'm on with no carbs. Like I'm expending so much energy, more than I've been taking. I finally got a decent take. And then, so, here it goes. The confidence level is coming up. So I was like, one more. This is going to be the one. Like, I know it. I had one minor part here where I didn't really like it. But the next one is going to be the one. And there's a kick line. I was doing so well. And if you get past the kick line, you got like 2 8 counts, you're solid. You are at the end, sister. And I was so cocky in my head. I'm doing this kick line. Like, you should have seen my face, my energy. I was living. I knew that this was going to be the one. I was even talking to myself inside. I knew this dance from the back of my hand. All of a sudden, that last kick didn't go higher than my waistline. I don't even know what to say, because I just fell to the ground in the middle of the road and just started crying. Like, here's drunk Tyler picking me up like, you're not going to cry. Like, I'm going to cry if I want to. I'm hungry. I just want to get this over with. I'm PMSing. Like, all these things were hitting me. I learned this whole thing backwards. I was so upset, but I was just like, you know what? Like, today's just not the day. Like, I can tell with my energy, I just didn't have it. My heart wasn't there. Like, I would rather wait till tomorrow and just enjoy myself today, relax, and really give myself a breather and just breathe, refocus, and calm down and try it again tomorrow. And that's something I actually was really fighting myself on, because I didn't want to do that. Because you got to really visualize this as if you were under pressure. Like, if this was an in-person interview, you don't have these moments to mess up. You have 10 minutes, maybe 15, 20 if they like you, to learn the choreo, and you're expected to do it. Perform everything, energy, body, perfection, technique. Everything needs to be done right then and there. Like, there's no excuses. You don't have all this time to do 26 plus takes and figure out what works for you. That's not how that works. And in my mind, I want to simulate it as if this was a real audition, and I would have failed miserably. But the fact that it was a virtual was a blessing. So I did it again the next day, finally got a good take, and I submitted it. And from then, within a week, they announced the semifinals. And the semifinals was a list of interview questions. You have no idea what they're going to ask you. So everybody's jogging their brains, learning facts about the Raiders and watching videos, whatever that's online on YouTube. Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, so the DCC, really, their audition process is very known, right? So those are going to be the best videos for you to pull examples from and kind of use it as a rubric of what to expect. So I watched a lot of those videos not knowing what they're going to ask you. It could be personality questions. It could be team facts. You have no idea, but you have to be prepared for all of it. And that round was another beast on its own, because everybody that I knew that was in the semifinals, they wanted to wait till the absolute last minute. They give you 3 days once they release the videos to submit back. And I didn't know if you could redo takes or anything, but in the email it said, you need to be prepared. You will not have time. You cannot redo the moment you hit start. So you don't know what to expect. Anything can happen. So they gave you a link, you hit it, they ask a question. You have 30 seconds to read it. And best believe there's a timer. I was not expecting that timer. And I was proactive. So I was one of the first. I was actually the first one to do it out of everyone that I knew. And so I read it. My fault was that I didn't utilize all 30 seconds to really practice what I was going to say. I just kind of read the question and I had an idea that popped in my head and I just hit go. Because the best way for me to function, I notice, is if I just let it happen naturally and not try to come up with a plan, because plans don't always go as planned, right? So I would hit play and I didn't know that there was another timer. There's another timer. And this time you get a minute and that thing is ticking above you. And you're trying so hard to look at the screen, but also pay attention to the timer up top to make sure everything you're saying is going to fit into that time frame that they give you. So it was really scary. There was I can't release what kind of questions they asked, but it was a very interesting experience. I didn't feel that I did terrible, but I know that I didn't do my best. I felt like out of the questions, about 80% of them, I was very confident with my answers. And then the other 20%, I'm like, you had a moment where you brain farted and like you started over your words a little bit, but just keep moving, like keep it flowing. And then that was another thing on its own because no one knew what to expect, right? So I was just hoping and praying that the judges understood that timer throws you off a little bit. So and everybody that I talked to kind of had a similar experience. Like they're just like, was not expecting a timer. And I was like, me either. So once they announced the finals list, like I couldn't believe that I made that list. And from here's another set of pressure. But the final round will be in person this weekend. And but I've been nervous about it for a long time. And it's come to the fact that like, I don't want to be nervous. Like I want to go in there and show them what I have and make it an experience. Like I want to be excited to show them what I have, not be nervous at whether or not they're going to pick me, because overall it's going to be an experience that I made it to the finals. That itself is, a check mark on its own. So if I go further than that, wow, bomb. But if I don't, like, I'm not going to be upset about it because I already made history by making it to the finals. So either way, I'll be happy.
Well, first, congratulations again.
Thank you.
I think going back to the semifinal, the interview round, obviously they loved you, so they chose you. But since you said you were the first one, with interviews, there's a lot of ambiguity between like what makes something good in an interview and what they're looking for. Maybe being the first person was something that they look for because it shows your resourcefulness and your ambition to get it done. And so, maybe that was a benefit towards you getting into the finals.
Maybe
that was just a small thought that I had while you were explaining that. And what goes into the finals? Is there a specific dance routine that they provide for you, or do you have to come up with something on your own?
So the preliminary round, we're going to be doing that choreography all over again, except this time in front of them. We're going to have another interview round. In business attire and or cocktail attire. So basically doing everything all over again, except adding a solo round. So now they said you get 1 minute to showcase who you are as a person in a dance routine. So I'm extra. And I started choreographing my solo from the beginning. So since the preliminary auditions, I know that I don't choreograph very often. It's something that I'm very insecure about. I'm very capable of doing it. It's just like the mental thought about, is it going to be good enough? Like, are people going to like it? Like those are some things that I struggle with when it comes to choreography. So I wanted to get that out and just start the choreography and give myself so much time to really get over those feelings and tweak whatever I need to tweak, or let music come to me, or whatever it is I needed to fine tune. I wanted to give myself an excessive amount of time to work out those kinks, and just really deal with my insecurity with that, and in order to evolve to feel confident about what I'm about to showcase to them. So.
Well, I really hope, you have all of your friends behind you as far as support. If you, or well, I'm not going to say if, when you get the final spot.
Wow. Thank you.
You have to preach it into existence. I'm a really big believer into that. Once you get there, then you can be Lisa 7.0.
Just jump 2 points.
Yeah, because then you're taking on two things. You'll be at the top of the game as far as the nightclub, and you'll be at the top of the game as far as the cheerleading.
Thank you. I'm just going to be grateful no matter what, because just being able to go into the finals, not, over 1,000, over 1,400 girls audition for this position, and we're down to X amount, under 100. And who knows how many they're taking? We don't know. But either way, just to make it this far itself is a reward. So I definitely want to go in there with that attitude and with that humble, grateful heart, and just take it for what it is and experience what it's like to audition for an NFL team, as opposed to hoping and wishing that, I get this job. I mean, that'll be the cherry on top if that happens.
Boom, you're going to get there. As far as all these different jobs that you've done now, you've been through, like we said, auditions, you're top of the game. What do you think is the most important characteristic as far as succeeding in Las Vegas as a woman?
As a woman, I already have an answer to this because I've already thought about it, but it is very important to be your most authentic self. It's been a moral, like, like a topic of our entire conversation. It is very important to be yourself, because flashing back to just walking into audition rooms, just auditioning for the nightclub jobs, I used to look at girls that they would choose and what they had that I didn't, how they acted, and I compared it to myself. So the second year, I think I walked in there trying to be somebody that I wasn't. And I wasn't very happy about that. Like, like shifting your voice an octave and sounding like a little girlier, or like sounding dumb. You know what I mean? Like I although I got jobs every year, like I just don't think that that's really don't try to be somebody else. Like, you need to be yourself, and they're going to see that. I think when I got Omnia, I walked in there, I had nothing to lose. Like, I was already at rock bottom. Like, what am I going to lose? So I walked in there with confidence, just really displaying who I was. And that paid off. And same thing with the Raiders auditions and any other audition that I've been a part of. Like, you get cut from the skating round, you right? Like, I have no skill here, and it's very obvious. Like, I'm getting stuck in the grooves of other people's skating lines. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you just have to be true to yourself and be confident in who you are as a person, because I've found that has been the biggest contribution to any success that I've experienced in life. Is just going in there, really knowing who you are, being confident with what you can bring to the table, whether it's their table or your own, and really just knowing your worth. And once you realize that, you'll find success in everything that you do.
Authenticity is key. I really enjoyed that answer.
Thank you.
It was really true to yourself.
Thank you.
That's a little meta of a comment, but we'll go with it. This was an incredible journey. We did an hour 45.
No way.
Yeah, dude, I could go a lot longer, but we'll cut it off here for the full story. And that next time you come on, we can dive even more deeper into philosophical topics, because I know those are something that I love to talk about, and you as well. But I do always end the interviews with two common questions everyone gets.
Okay.
So the year is 2030. What does the life of Lisa Love look like?
Ooh, that's about 10 years away. Mm-hmm. I envision myself, that's a hard one. I think I envision myself living the dream that I never thought that I would achieve. I'm going to be living somewhere where there's nice people. That's either in Toronto or somewhere in Orange County. I'm going to have a house that I never dreamed about having. Probably have a couple little ones. Probably. We'll see. Owning several businesses, being successful in those, and being a duo with my partner, Tyler, and finding success within each other and within our daily lives and our businesses. I think what we really strive to do is to be able to have everything run on its own and just be our own unit and not work for anybody. And that's something that we're really pushing for and really trying to find different avenues to try to accomplish that dream. I think I will be done with dance by then. I think that after I get the NFL, I might be done with my things that I'm trying to achieve as a dancer. And then from then on, I can focus on the rest of my life and how I'm going to make myself happy by juggling. I don't know. Am I making sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of
like
course.
just living this outlandish dream that I never would have thought. I would have never envisioned myself. That would be the goal. I know that's very vague. I know that's very, very vague. But I don't think I've really ironed out all those details yet. But I know that I won't be living here. I'm going to be living somewhere where people are going to be a lot like me, just energetic, playful, like that need to connect, because I know that's what's going to make me happy. And yeah,
it's important to forecast on your future, but I think it's even more important to make that forecast loosely based, right? It's like when we're younger, and they say, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" I think that's the very wrong approach for kids, because you don't know what the future is going to look like in 20 years.
Right.
Like if you look back to when we were growing up, there's so many positions that didn't exist that you would have never had any idea of even getting into. So life's really just about reacting to what is put in front of you, or going to learn something new and trying to build your own niche and skill stack on top of it. So
Exactly.
it's really hard to know what life will throw at you.
We just have so many ideas, and like not all of them are going to get executed. And just like peach bottoms, not all of them are going to be seen all the way through. So, I mean, I'm more of a 5-year plan type gal. 10 years is a little out there, but hopefully wherever I'm at in 10 years, it's going to be a successful path, and it's going to be one that I never dreamed I'd be able to achieve. So,
No doubt in my mind. And the last one is, what does Las Vegas mean to you?
Las Vegas to me means it is a land of opportunity. So there's opportunity at every single corner, and it's up to you whether or not you want to take them or you want to trash them. And it is like we said, it is a place where you have to really know who you are. And in order for you to survive and thrive here, you have to take advantage of the city and not allow the city to take advantage of you.
Very well put. And sometimes we find ourselves on the latter end of that answer.
Right.
But it takes a little bit to realize it.
Right.
So where can everybody connect with you as far as social media or anything else pertaining to Miss Lisa Love?
Miss Lisa Love is Miss Lisa Nikki on, I think I'm on TikTok, and I'm on Instagram. I do not have Snapchat. I don't have Twitter. So if you want to locate me, it is MSLISANIIKE, like Nike with an extra I.
Yeah, when you first made that switch, it took me a second to figure out. I was like, why does she keep putting Nike everywhere? I was like, what is happening?
It's a short version of a middle name.
Well, this conversation was lived up to every expectation that I thought it was going to have. And, I'd been looking forward for a long time, but I know this won't be the only conversation on and off the mic. So
I'm blessed that I was chosen to be one of the candidates on the Guest List podcast, and I can't wait to see what future conversations we'll be having.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you next time.